Hello and welcome back to KK's Quilt Studio. It's a cold and blustery day outside, but it's February and that's what happens. Valentine's Day is quickly approaching and I hear is National Embroidery Month. So in this video we're going to play with some more embroidery in our Art and Stitch Plus. We're going to do some split applique. Popular technique, so we're going to be using some of our shape tools, explain a little bit about the applique technique, and work with some fonts. So let's get started. If you open up your Art and Stitch fresh design page, the first place we're going to go is to our library tool on the left hand side. Left click on that and you'll get a screen with a drop-down menu, and we're going to go to the Shapes tool, and we're going to select a heart. And that's as easy as it is. We don't have to worry about drawing a lopsided heart. We've got one already installed artwork in the program, so why not make it easy? And it's about the size that we want to work with today. If you want to make it smaller, to go into a 4x4 hoop, if that's what your machine has, go to the Properties panel, Properties tab, and click on the Transform tab. And in here you can click on the width and height, and remember to maintain aspect ratios so you don't warp out your design at all. We'll go ahead and select 4 inches. And you see both of them change, and don't forget to click apply. So there you have a 4-inch heart, all sized up and ready to go. Before we go into that, let's go back to that design, the shapes library, and I want to show you one other option. There is in the drop-down menu, if you are so lucky to have an AccuQuilt Go or an AccuQuilt product that will cut dies, the pre-cut dies, there is a hard template in here, so you can go in and pre-cut your applique if you were going to make several of these. It'll just save the trim out. And this is what the die looks like. So it's going to cut 3 different sizes of hearts at once. Just depends on where you place the material. And if we go to sequence view, we don't need all those hearts. So if you hit on the little plus to expand that menu, we're going to go to that outline. We don't need that. We'll delete it. That heart is a 4-inch heart, so we want to hang on to that one. We want to select the medium heart, get rid of it, and the smaller heart, get rid of it. So there we have our 4-inch heart. Go ahead and use your centering tool, placement tool to center that design. And you can do the same thing from here, just using a AccuQuilt shape. We're going to go ahead and use the shape that I've started with. The same concepts will apply either to a heart out of the My Shapes or the Shapes library and to the AccuQuilt pre-cut shapes. So once we have a heart on our page, we want to go up to turn on our grid lines and our snap to grid. The next thing I'm going to do is draw a couple lines, and I want them about 1 inch apart using my snap to grid so that my lines are straight and I don't have to do any reshaping. Right click and set the line. Again, select the line tool, left click, and right click to set the line. Alright, we have 2 lines, our heart, and so we need to get rid of this side of the heart, this little piece, and this piece along here. So the next thing we're going to do is click on our reshape tool, select the heart. Let's zoom in a little bit to make this ever so much clearer. Again, select the reshape tool and there. So we want to get about as close as we can. Since we don't have a point there, we're going to split this line and get right in there, select, and split line. So there we have one line. It's already selected on our sequence view, and we're going to take our scissors after we select it and delete it. So there, one side is gone. Again, the reshape tool, go in, get as close as you can. You want to stay on that line without going over it, because we are taking away a sewing line. And if you don't get right on top of where you want it, you will have some extra stitches. So I'm going to split that line. I think I need a new mouse. And split line. And again, select tool, select the artwork, and delete it. Okay, so now you'll see in our sequence view, we have bottom of the heart, top of the heart, and two lines. So let's select those lines first and do a little bit of work with them. If you hold down your control key and click on the second line, you can select it as well. Now we have both of them selected. We want to change the color. We'll change it to yellow. And we're going to go ahead and copy and paste. And the second set of lines we'll make green. So what we want to do is go ahead and work on these guys. This is our text is going to be in between here. We're going to change those. We want to make those a satin stitch to stitch out last. This set of lines we are going to assign a run stitch. And finally our heart shape we're going to assign an applique. And the applique tool will go ahead and do some work for us. So let's open up and take a look at what the applique actually did. What it did was create a sewing line, which will show us where to place our fabric, and then another sewing line, which will tack down our fabric. So then the process is, once you have these two completed, you take your hoop out of the machine, cut away the fabric, and then finally the zigzag stitch. So let's take a look in our sewing simulator as to this sew out process. So at the bottom of your art and stitch there is a stitch simulator, and we'll click go to play on that. And there, we're gonna pause it. So what it did was stitch a line, and this is what your sewing machine will do. it's divided it up into 3 different colors so that it stops after each one of these processes is done. So it will sew out a line and then stop, waiting for a color change, but of course you don't need to make a color change. The next line, well, the next thing you do would be to lay down your fabric covering this area. And the next thing it would do is a tack down stitch. And I do a little zigzag. And you can, let's select this and go into properties and look at this area. Some selections you have to play with. Under Applique Extra, you can change this zigzag to be another run stitch. So if you prefer to have just 2 run stitches, you can do that and select Apply. In the applique, this is preset for satin stitch. You also have the choice of a blanket stitch or a motif. We're going to stay with satin. Click Apply. So if we go back to the Sew Simulator now, you'll see that it's going to do that first run stitch, and then that's your placement, and the machine will stop. You'll place fabric on top of that, and okay, the placement, and then again we have a run stitch, this time instead of a zigzag stitch. Okay, so at that point, this is what it's going to look like. Forgive my hairy hoops. They need a good cleaning. But at this point, we're going to take our embroidery out of the machine, take our hoop out, and we've done a placement and the tack down stitch. And here you see I'm taking sharp scissors, and you need to get very close to that sew down line and trim away the fabric. So this is what it looks like when I've trimmed away my fabric, and you're going to remove the excess fabric, the extra fabric. We just have our heart remaining, and put your hoop back into the machine. Okay, let's go back out and take a look again at that tree. Okay, I have part of the process of applique is a 3-step process, and you are going to have to advance your machine. Your machine should have some sort of stitch advance or capabilities of backing up stitches whenever you have a thread breaker or whatever. That's what you're going to have to use in the applique process. So if I expand this one, you'll see that the top of the heart has the same thing. So we want to stitch the royal purple, which is the placement, the royal purple on this one. So you're going to advance through these other 2 stitches up to the next placement stitch for the heart, and advance forward again to do the first run stitch, because as you'll see, there's no line here, and we need to insert another line without doing an applique. So these 2 lines are going to have to be separate. I hope that's probably clear as mud, but we're going to do a placement line here, but it is just to hold down this bottom side of this fabric and the top side for the bottom part of the heart. So you'll want to be doing, and if you want to change the thread color to a royal purple so you can remember that. So you're going to do the first part of this heart, the first part of this one, and then skip down to that run stitch. And at the end, then you will do all your final satin stitches for the green and the green, and skipping ahead to this green. Okay, now that we have all of that decided, we'll collapse our trees back up. Let's get to the text. We want to insert some text. So go to your text and lettering tool, and we're going to click in here. And remember, text defaults to the word text. So you go to your properties panel, the properties tab, and this gives us our text tool, and we're going to type in here what we actually want. And I used the dots. So if we hover over here, it gives us a shortcut tool as to height and what characters are available. We're going to probably stay about there. Let's see what that does. And click. Okay. There we go. It needs to be a little bit smaller. And that should do. And make sure you have the hand and so that we're dragging it. We're dragging the whole sequence. So that looks good. Okay, so there it is. And again, do your placement stitch, your tack down stitch, trim your fabric away, and there we have it. Our satin stitches are complete, and you're all set for Valentine's Day. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you can get all the latest and be notified whenever a new video is out and available. I hope you have fun. Play with your Art and Stitch and your Art and Stitch Plus. It's so much fun and you can be so creative. Happy Embroidery Month and happy sewing. Thanks for joining us again today.